Hello everyone, back to today's second video. We're going to have a look at weather for next week's 10 days. But today's second video will take us to around the 13th of September. Actually, we go a little bit beyond that with the GFS. So we're actually going to be second half of the month. We've just released the September month-end forecast. Difficult forecast to judge. Partly down to what's happening in the tropical Atlantic. I'll talk about that in a moment, but things are livening up now after a slow start to the hurricane season. Things are beginning to pick up a bit, so that's going to add an extra degree of uncertainty for September. And September's always an uncertain month anyway, because it's transitioning from summer to autumn, and so we've gone for slightly warmer and drier than average month overall, but I do think we're going to have bouts of cooler and more unsettled conditions. I'll be surprised if we come away with an exceptionally dry and hot month, such as we had a couple of years ago in September 2016. You never rule anything out with the weather. It has been a hot summer, of course, so it's possible we will come out with a very hot and dry September, but my guess is that we'll have a rather more changeable month than that. But nevertheless, there will still be extended stretches of high pressure, bringing warm and dry conditions. So it'll kind of like be alternating from summer and autumn on a week-by-week and possibly even day-by-day basis. Quite an interesting month coming up. So I'll talk you through the weather for next week's 10 days very shortly, but we'll start off by having a look at what's going on in the tropical Atlantic, because as I say, things have started to liven up. So we've got three areas of interest now. The first area is this yellow X just here. This is from the National Hurricane Center, by the way, which is part of NOAA in the United States. So we've got this yellow X just here off the coast of Africa. That at the moment is just an area of thunderstorms, but that's how these storms and ultimately hurricanes begin their life, begin their genesis, just as areas of thunderstorms that then begin to rotate and form into areas of low pressure, and then so those areas of low pressure pick up warmth from the tropical Atlantic, they develop into tropical depressions, tropical storms, and eventually they can develop into hurricanes. So at the moment, that's just an area of thunderstorms, but that needs watching, see if that develops over the next few days. Then we've got Gordon over here. Tropical storm Gordon is now just heading into the southern part of Florida. So that's developed quite a lot over the weekend. When we looked at this on Saturday, just an area of thunderstorms in the Caribbean, but it has developed quite a lot over the weekend, and it's now a full-fledged tropical storm. Not hurricane, but it's a fully fledged tropical storm. And then we've still got Tropical Storm Florence just here in the middle of the tropical Atlantic Ocean. Florence formed at the back end of last week. At the moment, Florence isn't doing very much, but eventually Florence may become a bit of a player for northern parts of the Atlantic and possibly even into Europe as well, and we'll talk more about that as we get further into the video. So let's have a look at Gordon then. So this is the track of Tropical Storm Gordon. As said, at the moment, Gordon is on the southern tip of Florida, just there. Expected to move through the Gulf of Mexico, or into the Gulf of Mexico, over the next couple of days. So as we get through to Wednesday, Gordon is heading into sort of Mississippi, Louisiana, that sort of area. So the first impact, I think, this season for the southern part of the United States coming up with Tropical Storm Gordon. Then Gordon is forecast to move further northwestwards into the United States, losing intensity, of course, as it doesn't get the heat and moisture from the Gulf of Mexico. These storms rapidly lose their intensity. So by the time you get through to Thursday, down to a post-tropical depression somewhere around the north of Louisiana or possibly Mississippi. This is a cone of uncertainty, by the way, so anywhere in this area could be impacted by what will then be post-tropical storm Gordon. So really from the far eastern tip of Texas, is the state of Texas, just here, of course, very large state indeed, over towards Mississippi, maybe even Alabama over there. That's kind of like the area that might be impacted by what will then be post-tropical depression Gordon as we go through into the end of the week. So a storm is heading into the southern part of the United States. That's the first one of the season. Tropical storm initially, then down to a tropical depression, and then eventually, by the time we get through to the weekend, going up towards Oklahoma, and then it is a post-tropical depression. So yeah, things are livening up a little bit in the Caribbean and in the Gulf of Mexico too. And then, of course, we've got Florence here. Florence not forecast to do a great deal up to the weekend, just meandering around the central part of the tropical Atlantic. That's the current position of Tropical Storm Florence. That's where Florence is expected to be by Saturday. So, again, remember, anywhere within this cone could be impacted by Florence. So, from there to there. Not in populated areas, although the northwestward trek that Florence is going in might take it up towards Bermuda eventually. So the island of Bermuda might have to watch out for Florence. That's probably been around a week's time, I would have thought. Doesn't look like Florence is going to go over to the Caribbean, so they should miss Florence. But of course, up to Saturday, Florence is still an active tropical storm, so we can't say beyond that where Florence is going. But I think the likely track is going to take Florence up towards Bermuda there somewhere, and then eventually perhaps moving up into the northern part of the Atlantic. Alternatively, I suppose Florence could go towards the east coast of America and then curve out into the North Atlantic like that. But we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen with Florence. Certainly up to Saturday, Florence is keeping tropical storm status, so we'll wait and see whether Florence does eventually become an Atlantic hurricane or not. Things certainly livening up though now in the tropical Atlantic after an extended period of quiet conditions. Right, just want to show you this. We looked at this with the September month-end forecast, but I appreciate not everybody watches all of the videos, so just bring you up to date with central England temperature for August. We've come out at 16.6. We're still waiting for the UK wide temperature anomaly maps to be updated for August from UK Met. As soon as those are updated, I will bring them to you. I know there are people other parts of the country away from the central England region that want to see how their area fared during August. It would usually be updated by now, but I think the weekend has just held things up in terms of updating those UK anomaly maps, but they'll be up within the next day or so, and I will bring them to you when we get them. At the moment, we've still only got the central temperature for August, so we came out at 16.6, an anomaly of just under 1 degree above average. That's the old and cold 61 to 1990 temperature average. If we was to compare that to a more modern average like 81 to 2010, actually it wouldn't have such a big anomaly. We would be even closer to average. So definitely a cool down to average took place during August. We know that June actually comes in under the August central temperature. June CET was 16.1. So yes, August was a bit warmer than June, but of course June is normally significantly cooler than August anyway. But the anomaly to average is what gives the game away, because the anomaly to average in June was around 2 degrees above average, whereas the anomaly to average for August is less than 1 degree above average. So a cool down took place during August, and certainly for the CET region, a little bit of a collapse, you'd have to say, in the summer of 2018 did take place very late on. August was a strange one because it started off really hot. We actually had the CET close to 20 degrees at one point during the first week of the month, the first days of the month. So a proper cool down did take place during August, and the summer did kind of run out of puff, it ran out of steam through particularly the second half of August, when we started getting those chillier nights turning up. Now, we've gone very warm for September. We've got 2 days worth of provisional CET numbers for September, and at the moment we're at 17.4 provisional to the 2nd. That's an anomaly again of around 2.5 degrees above average, but we're not going to hold at that level for very long. Things will be starting to cool down basically from tomorrow onwards, we're going to start to be CT lower, and actually by the end of the week and into the weekend, it could be distinctly cool across many parts of the country with outbreaks of rain, but we'll discuss that later on in the video. These are the 500 millibar height anomaly flowcharts from Penn State University for the next week to 10 days. We've got the ECMWF here on the top, and the GFS is on the bottom. 500 millibars, and Theta is an area in the absolute high pressure, low pressure, being moved around by the jet stream running above. Blue extrapolates low pressure, red and orange are high pressure. So, in the 7 to 10 day time frame, which takes us up to the middle part, or nearly into the middle part of September, we've got above average heights to our southeast, but below average heights are up to the north. And the jet stream is coming through rather like that. So, there is influence from the jet stream, there is influence from low pressure in the Atlantic with the ECMWF in the 7 to 10 day time frame. But the GFS actually has high pressure centered over the top of the country in the 7 to 10 day time frame, with the jet stream and the low pressure pushed up to our north. So this is indicative of the uncertainty that we've got for September. I think we're going to see alternating air masses. So at times we'll be under high pressure, getting relatively warm and dry conditions. At times we'll probably have influence from low pressure, getting cooler and more unsettled conditions. How those pressure belts alternate with one another through September is going to cause a lot of uncertainty, particularly with the tropical Atlantic livening up, because where those storms and hurricanes ultimately are going always provides computer models with lots of uncertainty as they try to process what's going to happen with those storms and also potentially hurricanes. So that always provides an extra level of uncertainty, and then we've got a rather changeable pattern setting up here anyway, I think, with high pressure, low pressure tending to alternate with one another. And so all of that means that we're going to see pretty low model reliability, I think, over the next week or two. Maybe that the unreliable time frame of models will come down to something like 4 or 5 days at times this month. GFS temperature and precipitation ensembles looking like this one. It's Sheffield in the north of England today. The red line here is the upper air temperature average for Sheffield, starting off quite warm still for today, but temperatures are going to be lowering through the week. So once today is out of the way, temperatures are generally coming down. By the end of the week, as I say, we're going pretty cool, really, going underneath the 30-year temperature average. Now, over the weekend into next week, the temperatures are beginning to lift up a little bit, so we do find in the early part of next week temperatures are going relatively warm again as high pressure starts to build back up. And then beyond that, you'll notice we have got a lot of scatter within the GFS zones. So anywhere from around this point onwards, which is kind of like the 12th of September, we've got a big sort of 15 degree or more temperature differential between the warmest and the coolest ensemble members. So obviously very uncertain what's happening there as we go through the second week of September and run up towards the middle part of the month. What we can say is that I don't think the GFS ensembles are looking as warm as they were a couple of days ago for September. They've generally lowered the temperature overall quite a bit for September. So I don't think we're going to have an overly hot first half to September anyway. Probably will be a bit warmer now because we started off very warm for the first 2 or 3 days, but I don't think an overly hot or an overly warm September is being signalled there up to the middle of the month anyway. And then what happens in the second half of the month, that is very speculative. And also what we can say is that there are more precipitation spikes now appearing for September, so there's no particularly pronounced period of extended dry weather. It's not desperately wet, but we have got regular precipitation spikes appearing there for Sheffield. So expect at the very least showery bursts of rain coming and going, and probably any high pressure interludes tending to be relatively short-lived. So this September is beginning to look a little bit more unsettled and a little bit cooler compared perhaps what was anticipating a couple of days ago. Of course, that's reflected in the September month-end forecast that have just been released. Temperature anomalies from the 3rd through to the 11th of September A little bit above average for England and Wales, but close to average or maybe a bit below average for Scotland and Northern Ireland. Not a big deviation either way anywhere, really. So, again, quite close to average with those temperature anomalies, which, of course, for this summer, well, summer's gone now, but for the summer, that would have been a relatively coolish week, actually, because most of the summer has been running like a 2 or 3 degree temperature anomaly. And then precipitation anomalies looking like that. So down in the south, still coming out drier than average, but further north, yes, it does look a little bit more unsettled, especially for parts of Scotland and Northern England. Quite a bit of regional variation. This is how the GFS is looking for Wednesday then. High pressure still ridging through the country on Wednesday, but lowering the temperature as cooler air moves down from the north. Then we go through to the end of next week. We've got quite an unusual situation about at the end of this week, I should say, with low pressure developing in the North Sea. So this is Thursday the 6th of September, with low pressure developing to our east, beginning to move outbreaks of rain, not from west to east like we normally get in the UK with the weather coming in from the Atlantic, but actually outbreaks of rain moving from east to west, moving in from the east, which is quite unusual. And that low pressure develops further as we get through to Friday. We have actually got an area of low pressure stuck over the top of the UK. So there'll be quite a lot of heavy rain of that. We've got to focus and pinpoint where the heaviest of that rain is going to be and most persistent rain will be. But we've certainly got an area of low pressure centred over top of the UK, and really quite cool air is being pulled down around that low pressure as well. So it will feel really quite autumnal indeed, I think, across many parts of the country by the end of the week. If you're waiting for autumn, you're not going to wait much longer. It will be feeling cool under those outbreaks of rain by Friday. Then going to weekend, and that low pressure is still over the country, so it looks pretty cool and wet into start of the weekend. Gradually that begins to weaken as pressure begins to rise from the south and the southwest by Sunday. Probably still quite cool, but we should lose the rain anyway, I would have thought, by Sunday. And then into next week, so we've got this high pressure ridging into the southern part of the country with low pressure up to the north. There's another weather front going through there. So for the south, we probably start to pull up some warmer air into the south. How far north that warmer air gets through the early part of next week remains to be seen. Up to day 10, high pressure is quite dominant on the GFS run. We saw it on the height anomaly chart, so high pressure kind of takes over through the course of next week. Although then we go a little bit more unsettled again around the middle part of the month. That's the 15th of September with low pressure heading in from off the Atlantic. If I go back to there, by the way, that's the remains of Tropical Storm Florence heading up to the North Atlantic by Thursday the 13th of September. So again, that might have an impact on what's going on in the Atlantic Ocean through next week. In the very extended range, this particular GFS run then builds a high pressure very strongly across the country into the second half of the month. But I think that is very, very, very speculative indeed. The ECMWF is looking like this. So again, we've got this developing area of low pressure in the North Sea and moving into the UK from the east, which is quite an unusual development. But these low pressures, when they come in from the North Sea, from the east, they can actually bring quite a lot of really wet weather with them. So somewhere could get a proper soaking at the end of the week. And that will probably be most likely for Scotland, northern and eastern parts of England. But we will have to firm up over the next day or so on where the wettest of the weather will be with that area of low pressure. All places looking cool and showery anyway by next weekend. We go through into the following week. So this is Monday, a week away, Monday 10th of September. And again, the high pressure is bridging into the south, but we've got this low pressure out to the northwest of Scotland. And so we don't make as much of this high pressure up to day 10. The high pressure is kind of centred to our west, bringing in this westerly flow from off the Atlantic with low pressure up to the north. It is turning quite warm in the south and southeast, but northern and western parts of the country actually looking a little bit on the cooler and more showery side. And then the GEM is looking like that. So again, this low pressure brings quite a bit of wet weather and cool temperatures the end of the week into the start of the coming weekend. Into next week, again, struggling to settle down. It's not really until day 10 that we begin to build this ridge through with the GEM. That's Thursday the 13th of September. The ridge is building through then and going up towards Scandinavia, fending off this low pressure in the Atlantic. But again, I think we have to be quite careful about what's going on there next week. Probably we will have a couple of days of drier and warmer weather down in the south, but how much influence that high pressure has, I think we need to wait a few more days to try and find out. Finally, if you would like to become a patron for Gazovitz, then this is Gazovitz's Patreon page. So if you would like to give us an ongoing monthly donation to help fund the videos and keep the website funded, then you can do so by becoming a patron for Gazovitz. We've got 25 patrons so far. Big thank you to all of Gazovitz's patrons. So you just come here, simply sign up for a Patreon account, and you can pledge any amount of money from $1 a month upwards as an ongoing monthly payment to Gazovitz. Of course, you can cancel that at any time, but the idea is that it's supposed to be an ongoing monthly payment. Alternatively, if you'd like to give a one-off donation, if you've got a PayPal account, then you can just come to Gazovitz's paypal.me page, and you can pledge any amount of money as a one-off donation that you would like. And all of this is helping to fund the website. There are costs associated with the website. Of course, we have to pay ongoing monthly fee to have the website online to our web host. Also have to pay for the comment box at Gazovitz, and we also have to pay now for our GDPR solution, which is a bit of a nuisance, but there we go. Thank you, European Union, for that. So the upshot is there are costs associated with the website. And if you would like to help fund the website, keep the content completely free, and show us that you're enjoying what we are doing, then that's the two ways you can do it, either through PayPal or becoming a patron for Gazovitz. You'll get a shout out in the videos, you'll get a thank you if you want one. If you would rather remain anonymous, just leave a note with your donation, and we'll just thank this anonymous donor, something like that. But again, big thank you to all of the patrons and all of the donors for their support for Gazovitz. Right, so don't forget to check out the September month-end forecast. And of course, on Sunday, yesterday, we released the first winter update. That is currently over 2,500 video views in just over 24 hours. And the feedback on that has been very, very positive indeed. So if you haven't seen it yet, have a look at that. It runs to an hour, so it's a real epic, but there's a lot of, well, I think there's a lot of really interesting stuff crammed in there. So it seemed to have gone down very well, and the feedback being very positive on that. So if you haven't had a look at that yet, then check it out either on Gazovitz or on the YouTube channel. Right, so that's all for now. Tomorrow we're going to have, again, a week to 10-day update, and we'll also have a look at the ECMWF for the next 30 days, ECMWF on some model as well. That is all for now, and thanks for watching.